will be lecturing from is right back there, and it is the Exodus from Egypt, Archaeological Data and Expectations. This covers everything that we'll be going to. We'll be going through a lot today, but my goodness, it is going to be exciting. Next slide, please. The title of this lecture is The Exodus from Egypt Part 2, Archaeological Evidence and the Pharaoh. The archaeological evidence and the discussion of the Exodus is a very charged issue. There's personal, academic, religious, and political beliefs involved in this archaeological analysis. Now, there's about three groups that are involved in this analysis. Next slide, please. The first are the minimalists, and they're opposed to the correlations between biblical history and archaeology. And the reason for this is several-fold. First, one group is kind of doing it as a reaction against their former mentors. The initial group of Israeli archaeologists were very zealous in finding correlations between biblical history and archaeology. The new group is less so. So part of this is kind of a reaction against their former mentors in the case of Israel Finkelstein and Zvi Lederman. However, some object or really advocate the minimalist position due to their agnostic beliefs or deconstructionist methodologies. I studied under Philip Davies and David Klenck out of the University of Sheffield in England, and also Keith Whitelam belongs to this group. And Philip Davies one day related to the class how he was indignant that one person he had introduced on the train he had mentioned to them that he was a biblical studies professor. And so they said, well, you must really believe in the Bible. And he was indignant. How can they say that? It's an academic issue and not a belief issue. Also, David Klein doesn't look at the Bible in terms of the historicity. What he thinks is a bunch of wonderful and well-written stories. So, I mean, he's looking for plot and theme. But in terms of the historicity, he doubts it almost completely. And then there's those that are opposed to the modern state of Israel, like in the case of Thomas Thompson, who's very much against kind of the Zionist claims to the land of Israel, and his academic, for some, according to some, reflect his assumptions and his analyses. Baruch Halpern in 1995 termed the aforementioned scholars as minimalists, a moniker that has remained, and since they seek to minimize the correlations between the Bible and archaeological data. Opposing them are the traditionalists, and this is a nomenclature that I have coined just recently, and they're opposed to the majority of scholars. They represent the majority of scholars in the archaeology of the land of the Bible, and regularly contend with the minimalists. They reject their extremist views, and they're more philosophically open to correlations between the biblical narrative and archaeological data. This is not to mean that they agree entirely with the biblical narrative. However, they are at least more open to considering biblical explanations. And this is involved in this group are the Mazar family. I started with Benjamin, now is a graduate to Amihai and his sister. Amnon Ben-Tor, who's the principal excavator for Hatzor. Frank Cross, David Noel Friedman, and William Bill Deaver. Now, the third group is the independents, and those are the individuals like Eliezer Oren, who I worked with, and Larry Stager, who taught me from Ben-Gurion University and Harvard. And what they look at is sometimes they agree with the correlations between the Bible. Other times they're skeptical of biblical claims. So it's basically they have very much of a wait-and-see attitude, and they can be firmly termed independents when it comes to the relationship between Bible and archaeological data. So you have three groups. Next slide, please.